I'm outside the beautiful new College of Business building here at WKU, Chandler Hall. And I got to thinking the other day, the choice of where you go to college and what you're going to study is one of the most important decisions that you make as usually as a young adult. How do you make that choice? If you choose to go to college, how do you know that it's worth it? Does the selection of field matter? All these kind of big questions come to mind. Let's dive into that a little bit. So we have this decision to make. Will we go to college? And if we do, which college will we choose? Which degree will we choose? Oh my gosh, we're inundated with university level choices. Oh my gosh. So let's think about it the way an economist would. Let's think about it in terms of opportunity cost. So let's get on the same page about some language really quick. First, scarcity refers to the limited nature of resources. We live in a world of unlimited desires, but limited resources with which to fulfill those desires. And because of that, because we want everything, but have limited time and money to go get it, we have to make choices. We live in a world of choices, of trade-offs. If we choose for this thing, we give up that thing. We call that a trade-off. Choosing for one thing, implicitly giving up something else. Opportunity cost, then, is the value of your next best alternative. It's the thing you give up when you choose one thing over the other thing. So when you pick to do one thing, you give up something else, right? So I do want to be clear when we're thinking of this, we want to think of it in terms of the value of the thing we've given up. So you're either going out to eat at McDonald's or at Zaxby's. Okay, you're going to spend $10 at McDonald's or $10 at Zaxby's. You go buy the burger at McDonald's, you're giving up $10, yes, but $10 to an economist, if we're really trying to think through this, is not the real cost of the burger, because your next best alternative was not just holding $10 for some reason. Your next best alternative was the Zaxby's. So when you choose for the McDonald's, your opportunity cost is the value you would have gotten from the Zaxby's, your next best alternative. All right, hopefully we're already on the same page on these basic economic terms. Now we're going to apply them to the college decision. Obviously, your time is your critical scarce resource that we will be discussing in this brief video. Here we go. So what does a college degree cost? What's immediately popping into your mind is probably things like tuition, room and board, books. All of those things are totally legitimate costs of a college degree that we ought to consider. We'll start with those dollars and cents kind of thing. I looked it up before I started recording this. WKU estimates for an in-state student, tuition, room, and board should be around $24,000 annually before any kind of scholarships or anything like that. So just that's how much it costs to come to Western and live here as a full-time undergraduate student if you're getting in-state tuition, roughly. Again, your mileage may vary. So 24 grand a year for 4 years, you add in some books, what are we talking here? It's about 100 grand, about 100 grand over the course of 4 years. So is that the cost of this 4-year degree? $100,000. Well, that's what I spent, or that's what I borrowed, or that's what my parents spent. So that's the cost, right? Of course, you guys know where I'm going. We're talking opportunity cost. Is that the cost? Well, no, that's not the whole cost. If you didn't go to college, you'd be doing something else, I hope. You'd be doing something else, certainly. Those years are going to pass regardless of what you're choosing to do. So if you choose to go to a university for 4 years, what do you give up the chance to do? When I ask students this, they pretty much always say, I would be giving up the chance to go and work at a full-time job. So let's be conservative here. And let's say you go get a full-time job just anywhere. You're 18, fresh out of high school, you just go get some job. How much are you going to make? I did a quick, perusal, browsing around, and it seems like around $15 an hour is about what you would typically make if you just have, very low skills. You just show up at work, you're just going to go get some job, you're going to make about $15 an hour. So how much is that? Well, that's a little bit more than 30 grand a year. Let's just round it and call it 30 grand. So over the course of 4 years, if you're giving up your full-time wage, that's about 120 grand. So how much does it cost to go to college if we take what economists call the explicit costs that you literally spend and literally see, that's what you're writing the check to Western for, and the implied costs of what else you could be doing with your time, the implicit costs, we might say, the total cost is somewhere around 220 grand. Oh my goodness, that can buy a house in a lot of towns, at least small towns, here in Kentucky, right? Maybe that doesn't buy a very nice house in the big cities of the United States, but it buys a house in a lot of places, or at least, somewhere to live. Maybe a swanky condo in a nice city, I don't know. Of course, not trying to get into the housing thing right now. So the total cost of college, somewhere around 220 grand, that's a whole bunch of money. So the question immediately becomes, if it's gonna cost us so much, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Well, hopefully, since you guys are in this class, you already know, yeah, it's probably worth it. Let's look at the numbers a little bit here. All this, I'm going to show a bunch of different tables here. This is coming to us from the Education Data Initiative. I liked the work they did on this topic, so I'm going to share it with you guys here today. So shout out to them for producing this great research on these questions. Pretty much all of these are going to be broken down by years in the workforce, 10 years, 20 years, and so on. So if we look at degree-based earnings, so this is the earnings that you're going to get because you got a degree in 10 years, you're going to pass up that 220 grand on average. The average bachelor degree is going to pass up that 220 grand in about 10 years. Now their ROI, return on investment, is negative at the 10-year time frame because they're assuming the cost of college is even higher, which you guys probably are aware. As colleges go, WKU is one of the cheaper ones, believe it or not. So that sounds like a lot of money, but it is less than the typical degree, the average degree here in the US. So, but by 20 years out, you can see you're making more than $500,000 more than if you had not got the degree on average. So within 20 years, you've made $500,000 more. And by the end of your career, within 40 years, you've made almost $2 million more than if you had not gotten the degree. So comparing that to the average cost of a degree in the US, that's like a little more than 500% return on that original investment, the cost of the college degree in the first place. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Is it worth it? Well, it's up to you to decide if it's worth it, but these numbers are quite compelling. So you're probably thinking something like, okay, so going to college is worth it, but what should I study? Does it really matter, or does any college degree pretty much pay out the same? Of course, you guys are probably aware, no, they don't all pay out the same. We look in here at some of these different degrees and how much they make over the course of their lifetime. Electrical engineering and chemical engineering at the very tippy top. Electrical engineering, oh my goodness, over the course of your lifetime, you can expect to earn nearly $10 million. Now, this is based on a projection of a 40-year career, so I don't want to get into all the weeds of how these numbers are estimated and everything. But ballpark, about $10 million over the course of your career, that's a whole lot of money. That's an incredible amount of money, right? Yep. $9,761 for the electrical engineering. 9.7, yeah, I said it right the first time, about $10 million. And you look down, okay, engineering, we all knew they made a bunch of money. Management systems and statistics, so these are like your computer information systems and management systems degrees. Those are pretty specialized. We've got CIS on there as well. So we've got those management systems degrees, CIS degrees doing very well. Computer engineering doing very well, no surprise there. Finance and economics at about 8.6 million, very close to one another as they are quite related disciplines, although certainly not the same. And we see just a general engineering track a little bit lagging behind those highly mathematical business disciplines, finance and econ, and accounting and mathematics, not doing too bad either. So does the choice of degree matter a lot? Yes, it does. It matters a ton. If we look at this another way, we could compare finance to graphic design, or what some schools call commercial art. again, all this data from the Education Data Initiative. And we can see in year 10, so this is 10 years of working in the field. After you get your degree, you've worked for 10 years. Does finance pay off? Yeah, you can expect to earn more than the cost of the degree, well more, 112% ROI. Where in 10 years, does a graphic design or commercial art degree pay off? Probably not. On average, we see no. Negative 50% ROI, meaning you've still got to make some more money to cover the cost of the initial investment. So what about 20 years? Well, the finance degree earner has already earned more than $1 million more than if they had not got the degree. The art degree or graphic design degree is still trying to catch up. They have at least paid off their initial investment there by year 20. And by the end of the career, at year 40, the finance student has now made more than $4 million more than they would have had they not got the degree. Again, this is on average, compared to a little more than $1 million for the art student. So what I want to point out here is, okay, yes, finance, econ, engineering, yes, you can make fantastic incomes. That's great. Do it if you are interested in it and you find that a compelling field to get into. Obviously, I've studied economics. I absolutely love it. But there's also a compelling case in the data here to even get a degree like an art degree. Over the course of your 40-year career, it will pay for itself. If you're absolutely in love with studying art or graphic design, on average, we would generally expect the degree will eventually pay for itself. Now, is that a guarantee? No, but there seems to be some compelling evidence here, although these are not all the same number. So, what did we talk about? Well, we talked about the cost of a 4-year degree, both in terms of a literal, explicit dollars and cents cost and in terms of total opportunity cost. And we reflected on some data from this wonderful Education Data Initiative. And we see, yeah, it's generally worth the investment to get a 4-year degree. And we also saw the degree that you actually get really does matter. So choose your degree carefully. Choose whether or not to go to college carefully. And I think the numbers and cents are pretty clear here. If you can do it, it's probably worth it to go to college. We're experiencing a cultural moment where a lot of people are skeptical of the value of a 4-year degree. And I think that skepticism is justified. And I don't think people are crazy to consider these kind of questions. It's a big decision whether or not to go to college with a huge cost on the front end, right? So if you're making that decision, you should probably make it with as much information as possible. But generally, will a college degree still have return? Almost certainly it still does have return to justify the initial investment. All right, let's call it there. Thank you guys so much.